I'm really pleasantly surprised with how much interest there was in the video I put up yesterday around compost heating in the walkway. I'm going to link to that right here in case you missed it. And that's going on in this high tunnel over here. I'm going to show you, I took the inspiration from so many people engaging with that and suggesting ideas and asking questions to move it forward last night and this morning. So I'll share what I'm up to over there. And right now I'm doing some trials in this high tunnel. This is the same size cattle panel tunnel that's in our chicken yard, and doing some trials about or around the idea of low tunnel execution. Let me explain. In the video yesterday, I talked about how we've got these two permanent beds on either side of the main walkway. That's a common theme with most of our high tunnels. But in order to get the sort of season extension that we need to get things started, we really need microclimate within a microclimate. We're pretty cool here. Now, please forgive, this high tunnel is generally pretty ragamuffin. The chickens play around in here all summer. We never got around to cleaning the poly. That'll be something, once we have thawed water, I can actually wash this off, make it look nicer. The fig in the far corner so far has overwintered. We'll be talking about taking cuttings from this soon enough, but you can see some dried figs on there. Not ripe, that's kind of common for our region. But let me get back on track. I alluded to this in the last video, but you can see in front of me two iterations, two design directions that can be taken for creating low tunnels in a high tunnel. Now for some orientation, I'm looking due west, so that way is north, that way is south. Northern climate, so the sun is coming in like this. In the winter, it's coming in like this. Summer like that, but summer we're not concerned about. We're designing for the angle of incidence, is that the term? For the winter sun, the late February, early March sun. And so on the south side, I've got one style, on the north side, I've got another. A number of you mentioned concerns around having the poly go directly up against the greenhouse plastic, that it was a missed opportunity to have a thermal break. And so on this northern side, I am committing to that design direction of having this scrap piece of poly. This is an offcut from a high tunnel that was getting reskinned. And I went through, I hammered in some locust staves. I just put in 3 through the middle to support the arch of this, the raised profile of this, so there's more room for plants underneath. I ran some scrap pieces of fencing wire that I had laying around to create this support right here. There's no huge load, there's no wind coming in here, so design-wise it doesn't have to be amazingly well done. And then I went through and took some looser, less aged compost, some mulchy material, and pinned down the bricks along this northern side. And that makes an air seal for me back in there, which is quite nice. It makes it very easy just to put some bricks to get the ball rolling, and then the material itself will do the holding of the poly. Now, right now I've got it held in position with these binder clips, which I can take off. It's such a simple design. I really like it. With one hand, we'll see how well this goes, but 1, 2, and I just had 2. Oh no, there's one on the bottom. 3 binder clips, keeps it in position, and now I can bring it up. So those 3 binder clips that keep the poly down also bring it up, and so on very sunny, warm days, I can have this fully ventilating. Or if I need to come in and seed and work in here. Now here's where I would like to get some input, some more from folks. What does it look like if I actually bank a little bit more hot compost in the back here? Or better yet, do I dig this bed out, set the soil aside, and then refill this with unfinished compost, make a hot bed in here, return the finished soil on top, maybe put some seed starting mix. Then with this poly down, we've got a tunnel in a tunnel with bottom heat. I wonder if we could really get things started sooner than later. And this side was actually remarkably easy. I was trying to think through if I was going to braid paracord through this and blah, blah, blah. But I've got these binder clips. I bought tons and tons of these. They're really useful to have mountains of large binder clips for all sorts of projects. But I just basically every 2 or 3 of these sections I clipped it on, and again, because I'm not dealing with wind or dynamic forces, this should be fine. And so now the light from outside can go directly through one single layer of poly and into this bed. And part of the reason why I want it set up this way is that, as opposed to the north side where I want to decouple it from the outside where there's snow and cold, on the south side just outside. This is where we have banking a whole lot of compost that came from our chicken winter run that is finishing up. And so what I need to do is renovate this pile, get a little bit more carbon in there, get it shaped up nicely so it matches right up against this entire line through here, but is a little bit lower so that light can get through into that bed, and then put a cover on the top and insulate that with leaves so that all of that excess heat can ramp up and go in by translation through the poly and into that little space. So these are the two design directions I'm experimenting with in this tunnel in our chicken yard. Let me know what you think. Does one make more sense or one less? I kind of feel like having both in here would be the move so that I can learn a little bit more. I can have compost heating through conduction, is that right? Through the plastic and into this space with some weights on the bottom tied over, and this back down, but with the soil dug out and a hotbed underneath the actual seed starting area and the soil put back on top, and these pinned down when it's really cold and open when it's sunny. For now, these are fine enough rough sketches that I can leave them be. It's going to be cold for a little while, so I'm not trying to get seeds started in the next few days anyway. I can see how they react after a sunny day, after a particularly cold night, and make adjustments, and I'll share notes as we go. But for now, we'll let those rest. So that's our chicken yard high tunnel, and across the driveway closest to the road is the focus of yesterday's video. And I made some headway in here, and I thought folks might be interested in this. So it froze a bit last night. We got down to around 10 degrees Fahrenheit, so it makes sense that it would have. I started the first layers of what will go in the bottom here, and I thought some folks might be interested in this. Rather than committing to perforated black drainage pipe, in other words, plastic run through the bottom, I remembered that we have some old miscanthus stalks that we had pruned last year that weren't used. And so I grabbed those, I trimmed them up and laid a whole pile in this trench in the direction that I want water to flow, so that it'll keep the channel open enough. Of course, it's not going to be open, easy flow, but it'll allow water to move through. And then directly above it, I chopped up a bunch of miscanthus and laid them perpendicular to that to make a first layer, and then another layer on top. So we basically have a checkerboard of rigid, hollow carbon tubes that are underneath all this. And then I scrounged for some compost that was real sticky. In other words, not adhesive, but made of sticks. And that's what's all loaded through here. So the very first layers are all about aeration, good drainage, and keeping it open. So I'm going to leave this alone until we get a little bit warmer weather. There's no point in making it all set up and then just have it freeze solid again. And I'll share notes when I get to it, but I think I may commit to the same design as in the chicken yard. The poly arch with the bricks along the north wall, so there's a decoupling from the snowy cold side up and over, and then on this side follow up and over, and perhaps do some hot composting on the outside in a walkway to have that couple and send the heat in. We'll share notes on that. We'll share notes on how this composting system works out. I feel similarly to a lot of folks that I don't know that there will be enough volume in here to be a significant source of heat, but I think it's worth trialing. We want fertility in this high tunnel anyway, and even if it only contributes a few degrees, that's better than nothing. So we'll share notes as it goes. Thanks for your interest. Take care.